All right, welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase podcast. We're back, and today we're talking with Dan Johnson, Finger Chronicles, Sportsman Nation, all around hunter guy. Thanks for coming on.
The Dan.
I'm glad you, with all the genders and all that other crazy stuff out there, I'm glad you made it that clear that I was a guy.
He and him would be the pronouns that are behind his name.
Oh, okay.
And a fellow ginger beardman.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yep. Yes, it's starting to get a little salt and pepper on this side right here.
Is it?
You know what? Yeah. I had sprinkles of that ginger beard for a short period of time, and they turned white. You can't really see, but the corners, they got white. It looks like I dipped them in paint a little bit. Like
you look good.
Just a little overspray.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I really tried hard. My beard has been a work in progress for a long time, and I've stuck with it through the thick and mostly the thin. But I like to think it's paid off.
I had a problem growing a beard in certain areas of my face, and then all of a sudden 1 year it came, and I was just like, I'm a man now.
Yeah.
And then the next year it started going gray. So I was like, I only had a really good one for 1 year, and now I'm starting to show my age.
You know, I had the same thing. I'd like this year, for some reason, my beard grew better, and maybe it's COVID. You know, you never know how COVID works. It works in mysterious ways. Yeah. But I attribute it to, I have a brush, and my brother was telling me that if you brush something like continuously, stimulates the hair follicles. And I found that to be true. Like I always had like kind of like a dry part of my hand right here. Yeah. And I always itched it, and I've got hair there and not as much on this hand. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to try it. So for months, I just brushed one spot, and I like to think I grew my hair.
You know what, Jim? I'll give that one to you, because I've seen advertisements for like a beard growth kit, right?
Yeah.
And there's a little tool that they have. I don't know how to describe it. It's pretty much a handle with a wheel on it at the end of it, and on the end of that wheel is like little prickly points or whatever, and you're supposed to like roll it around on your face, and it's supposed to stimulate the hair follicles, and then you put like some serum on there, and it's
the serum is where the money is.
Yeah, the special snake oil serum.
It's
I call it BS.
It's probably just like water and syrup.
Yeah, that's right. Corn syrup. If probably.
What's up? We are going to thank a few of these sponsors that help make this beautiful show a reality for all of you. So here we go. So a big reason, I would say, to why we're so successful and we have so many bucks on the wall is because we use HuntWise. HuntWise is a GPS mapping app that you can download on any phone, any platform. You can look up public land huntings, ORV trails. You can get the weather. They actually have a HuntCast 2.0 that they teamed up with Jeff Sturgis to make. It's awesome. You need to check this thing out. Go to HuntWise, download the app.
I feel like if you go into the woods without optics, it's like going into the woods without pants on. Would you agree with that?
To a point.
We are huge fans of running binoculars, spotting scopes, and different things when we hunt, even whitetail. I bring binoculars out every time I go. We choose Vortex Optics because they make the best glass in the business. They have an amazing warranty, super clear glass, super helpful people that work there.
Also, if you want to rep some sweet Vortex swag like this warm shirt on a nice fall day, head over to Vortex Wear. Thank you. And use the promo code TFC20 for 20% off your purchase. Saddle game, you need to be in it. If you haven't been in it yet, then you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Trophy Line Tree Sales makes some of the best saddles in the industry. They have 3 different platforms that we use and that are awesome.
I want to make a quick plug for the Wingman with a couple steps. You can take one less stick, and it's like a combination of a stick and a platform. I've been exclusively hunting out of it this year, and my mobile setup is so sweet. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome.
I highly recommend the Wingman system.
If you're ready to pull the trigger on that and you want to get with James and do the Wingman, head over to the website and you can save yourself 10% on the purchase. TFC10 will get you that. I like to think I single-handedly got James to switch to compound again, but I'd probably be a liar and everyone would call me out on that. We shoot prime bows. We think they're awesome. Great accuracy, super shootable.
Made here in Michigan.
Made in Michigan, so we love that. It's hard to complain.
That's where Jared was made. So
surprisingly,
we like that. Yeah.
Welcome. So go check out these prime bows.
We are of a firm belief that the arrow is the lifeblood of the archery industry. We've said it 1,000 times. But in all seriousness, we are huge fans of arrows that are durable, that fly well, and that kind of make up for some of my inaccuracies in the way that I shoot. So we shoot Vector custom arrows.
The hammer.
The hammer.
That's Thor.
They are made in Wisconsin by our buddy Isaac. Great arrows. And if you want to go and get yourself some, have a little bit of a discount, use TFC10 for 10% off. Or call Isaac up and tell him we sent you.
Mm-hmm. You want his phone number? Comment below.
Yep, comment below. Elephant in the room, Dan. You're the Finger Chronicles, and you do a podcast. You've been around forever. The 9 fingers thing. You have 9 fingers, right?
Well, it's a complete myth. I have 10 fingers.
Because I've never seen both hands in the same picture, so I don't, Yeah.
There it is. Oh, you got tricks.
There it is. That's impressive.
Yeah, my grandpa taught me that one.
Yeah, that's right. I feel like I've heard that too. So that's been kind of your thing. I have to ask. I mean, I don't mean any offense, but like, how did that happen?
Well, I am really offended that you asked that question. No, but usually I lie and I tell people I was noodling and a snapping turtle bit it off.
Yep.
And then I just walk away from the people and never actually tell them the truth.
That's a good call.
2005, Atlanta, Georgia, I got sucked into a giant exhaust fan and it chopped it off.
Holy cow. How old were you?
25.
Holy cow. It had to just be incredibly painful.
It wasn't as bad as you would think. I went into shock instantly.
Sure.
And then the rest of the night was just kind of, I don't know, man. Blurry. I mean, I went into shock. Long story short, I got to the hospital, and that was the first time I ever had morphine. And then it was all good from there, man.
Beautiful joke.
Yeah.
I had pretty crazy reconstructive jaw surgery. I had like
braces. He looked like a freak. So.
Braces for 7 years. It was dumb. Eventually, big picture, like the arches of my teeth were perfectly fine. It's just they were just off centered. So it was cosmetic surgery. But I just remember being in that hospital bed and they're like, "Do you want to have some morphine?" And at the time I'm just like, "Yeah, dude, whatever." And I remember them putting it in my IV, which was in like one of the veins of my hands, and I could just feel the cold trickle up my arm.
It's gnarly, man.
And as soon as it hit my heart and just spread around, it was just like, oh, and you just like sink back in your bed and you're
really?
Like, yep, keep it coming.
Yeah, and that is why we have an opium epidemic.
That would be it. That would be it right there. The feeling that you had when you did the lean back. That's the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
God, this is pretty freaking sweet, guys.
They're onto something with this.
Yeah.
This morphine.
Y'all gotta try this shit.
No, it's funny. I remember visiting you, Jared, and so we've known each other for a long time, and so I knew he was going into surgery, and like I walk in, I actually brought my girlfriend, now wife, and I turn around the corner. I'm like, where is Jared in the hospital? Looking around, and I see this Shrek looking guy like come around because his face was like head,
like a
and then bulbed out face, just
upside down.
And it took me a second to realize. In the moment I did, I lost it. Like almost wetting my pants, laughing so hard.
They tell you to get up. They tell you to get up and start walking around so you get blood moving and try to get the swelling down in your face. So I'm just like old grandpa walking with my hand on the rail and my other hand on my IV cart, whatever the heck it was. And all of a sudden James pops through the double doors, takes one look at me and just puts his head down and starts laughing and like turns around. In all this while, like I cannot, like if I smile, just the worst pain in the world. Like they did so much shit in my face and he's laughing at me and I'm laughing. And I tell you what, man, that's the worst pain I've had.
Later, I kid you not, I watched Jared because I had to hold his mouth open. He picks one end of his lip and peels skin, and it starts here. It goes all the way around the horn, all the way like one long.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was
like a snake skin.
Yeah, like a snake skin. Exactly.
I peeled my whole lip off. It was pretty crazy. Crazy.
So anyways, Dan, I mean, that's horrible. That sounds like a horrible accident. And did you get like phantom did you get phantom pains or anything like that you hear about?
Yeah,
So
I had one that really stuck out to me was the tip of my finger would itch. It would just be this most annoying itch, and there's nothing I could do about it. Like I would just take my nub and I'd go, and it wouldn't go away. It was just this crazy itch, and I had that for like several months, and then I had the so here's my real finger, right? Yeah. So they told me, so I'd get these cramps in my hand, and it felt like my finger was doing this.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do anything about it, right? Yeah. So I had to do these exercises where I'd go,
oh, just kind of, yeah,
and visualize it. So yeah.
Wow.
I couldn't use chopsticks. I was dropping for the first year. I had to like reteach myself how to tie my shoes. I had to learn how to like use a fork. Like I would literally drop food out of my hand just because that finger wasn't there anymore. So
unreal. What a crazy, I mean, it's a manly thing. Like you get like serious man points, you know.
Yeah, I feel like more of a man when it happens.
You should. Yeah. I know of a guy that did this in college, and he had his whole hand, he had sawed it off, so his fingers kind of went at an angle. Like remember Tyler Zoroff, Jared?
Oh yeah.
And I always thought like, man, that's tough, and that would be like a horrible thing. But you also, at the same time, I kind of think you're pretty like cool, like you're pretty tough now, you know.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on what the actual accident is. I don't know your buddy, but if you cut your own fingers off, as opposed to a straight up accident like what I had, I don't know how cool that is.
No,
like if you're like, oh, zip, and I don't know. Like, I'm sure your buddy's a great guy, but you know, come on.
Yeah, I know.
I sliced my hand off.
You know what? Come to think of it, I think he did it when he was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Which, by the way, I just can't think of a worse feeling as a parent. That's up there. Anyway, so Dan, Finger Chronicles, you and Mark Kenyon, who we've had on a couple times, that's where you guys kind of started, where I first started hearing about you. Is that how you got into this hunting media thing, or how'd you get in?
Well, media is a different story, right? Yeah. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with White Knuckle Productions.
Yeah.
Todd Prignitz, he passed away a couple years ago, but in 2006, Todd started White Knuckle Productions, and that's kind of where I got my start, was working with Todd, and then kind of onto the Wicked Tree Gear thing that he was doing there, and I worked with that too. And then I think with Mark, I think it was like 2014 is when the Wired to Hunt podcast started, and Mark was down on a shed hunt, and he asked me to kind of be a co-host of the show, and I was like, yeah, man.
Was there a ring involved or anything? Did he like get down on a knee like, hey man, would you be my co-host? like a nice dinner?
I knew he was going to ask me a serious question, so I went out and I planted a really big shed out in the woods, and then I sent him right on the line to it, and then he found it, and he was pretty excited, and I think the plan worked.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Points. You'll have to ask him.
I'll have to ask him,
because I found a giant shed that weekend, and he found it by himself. You know, I'm obviously kidding, but that was kind of the blossoming of the Wired to Hunt podcast, right? That was the start of it, kind of.
That's funny. Yeah, I've told him this, but I'll tell you this too. That's when I started listening to you. I was living out east in the city, right outside of New York City, going to school, and missing, because we're from Michigan, missing home. You know, it would be deer season, and I would be studying, and just like it was just the epitome of the grind. But I would listen to you guys when I'm driving to school, because it took me like 45 minutes to get to class out there, and that was cool. Like you were like the first hunting podcast, or really any podcast that I listened to. I knew of them, but wasn't interested in them until I'm like, oh, there's a hunting one. All right, I'll check that out. And so I'd hear you guys, you know, goofing around, talking to good people and stuff. So you got me through some dark no hunting times. That's for sure.
Well, that's good, man.
Yeah,
that's good.
Well, at that time too, Jared, you were gone in Japan. So
What year?
That was
14. I was back home.
No, that wasn't. Yeah, I feel like I listened to it before 2014 because I was in law school.
I was
pretty sure 2014 is. Yeah, it's got to be somewhere around 2014 when we started it. Yeah.
So, anyways, that's where I know you from. And so I've been listening to your podcast and you on his and then following some of the Sportsman Nation stuff you do, which is also kind of interesting and kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with that? What was what led to that?
Yeah, in all actuality, I mean, I could sit here and tell you I'm some Steve Jobs of podcasting when I'm not. I'm an idiot. And so I just had this idea pop in my head where I'm just like, hey, let's put more podcasts on one feed, dude. And that was the birth of it. I wish I could tell you there was something fancy, but it wasn't, man. It was just like an idea popped into my head probably when I was shotgunning a Bush Light, and then all of a sudden I was just
as
like,
all good ideas come.
Yeah. So then really what happened was it started to take off right after I did it, and I asked a couple people to pop on, and they were like, yeah, let's do it. And now, I mean, it's bigger than I ever thought it would be, and I'm pretty happy with it.
A lot of brand, like, how many podcasts do you have now?
Let me look at my schedule board here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I think we have 17 individual shows, and then we have 21 total RSS feeds. So we have all the individual feeds, and then we have the RSS, the network feeds as well. So
are you always on these guys, like making sure they hit deadlines and stuff? Like we have one of your guys on, Nick Otto. He lives kind of near us, and
Nick is the man.
He is the man. He's got the voice for. The more we have him on, the more I'm like, he has the perfect voice for.
Yeah, I just hope NPR doesn't steal him away.
I know,
because he has an NPR voice, man.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And he knows his way around some turkeys. So my family eats a lot of the Otto Farms turkeys. So this is a plug for them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good stuff. No, that's cool. That's a lot of listens, and so yeah, it sounds like, I mean, you're bringing in all these different hunting podcasts under this umbrella. Why do you do that? What's your, like, what drives you to do this kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I love the outdoors. I love sharing the outdoors with people. I love, like, my job. I'm going to say this out loud so everybody understands. My job is to talk about hunting and the outdoors all day long. That's all I do.
Yep.
Now there's some other stuff I have to do, to
facilitate. Yeah,
exactly. To do the adult work. Look, see how I did that? Adult work. And, and so, I wanted, when you grow a business, you want to work with very strong, like-minded individuals who I don't want to be the best. I want to have a gang of people like around me. Yeah. I don't want to be the standout. I just want to, and so everybody right now that is on the network has been vetted. They put out excellent content, and basically handpicked these guys, and every person who's on the network right now is just as passionate, if not more, than me about what they're doing. So, I love deer hunting, but we talked about Nick there. The dude loves to cook wild game, and that's like all he wants to talk about. And so his podcast reflects that, and that podcast is amazing because of what he's passionate about. Now, on the flip side, I didn't want to bring in just a whole bunch of me's, you know what I mean? So we got there's a guy, his name is Chris Powell. He is the host of the Houndsman XP podcast.
Yeah,
and this,
seen him.
Yeah, and this dude is a very passionate, and not just about coon hunting. Like, that's what this dude loves to do, coon hunting with dogs, but just like fighting for the rights of hunters. Like, that's what this guy gets off on. And so he's on there along with a whole bunch of other guys who just love doing what they do. And then that just comes off in their podcast.
Yeah. Passion. And so it's, I mean, it's a great way to just be outside, be talking about the thing that you love to talk about anyways.
Yeah.
Which you clearly are so passionate about. How'd you get into this? Like, how'd you get into hunting? When did you start to like it as much as you do? Because you haven't always been a podcast guy.
Yeah. My journey as an outdoorsman is kind of weird. Like, I grew up in a farming family, right? So I was the kid, as my mom and dad went to work every day, I was dropped off at my grandparents. They were babysitting me, and they just drug me around everywhere they went. So I was outside all day, whether I was in a combine or in a tractor during planting or harvest. I was taking care of cattle, watching them take care of cattle or hogs. My grandpa had a horse farm. So I was just outside in that kind of farming environment. And then that kind of flooded over into like checking traps. My uncle would take me to check traps. And then when he was in college, I can remember some crazy stories about, he says, hey, grandma, like he says, hey, mom, I can't make it back. So my grandma is out checking traps, traps in these waterways with a 5-year-old. Right. So, and I was the kid that would hold the bat, and like, yeah, if there was one still alive in the bat or in the trap, it's bow.
Well, what were you? I gotta just put a pin. Maybe, no, I want to talk about this. What were you trapping?
Oh, anything like coon and muskrats mostly. I mean, that's what you wanted. But anything that was in the trap, possum, skunk, all that stuff would eventually show up. But for the most part, you try to get possum or raccoons and muskrats.
Muskrat. Yeah. I asked because I'm trying to catch a couple beavers this year.
Yeah.
And I feel like almost though, Jared.
Them? Just catching them?
I'm just catching them. And I'm trapping. I'm sorry. But I feel like I haven't, I've failed at that so far. So
I didn't get into trapping after that. It's just kind of, if you're going to look at all the little points that led up to me doing what I'm doing, and then it was pheasant hunting.
Yeah.
I remember going pheasant hunting, and then I was, and then just a ton of fishing. Right. So all these little things and just being outside really all the time. Like, it's not like today where you have all these opportunities inside, like Wi-Fi and internet and Netflix and stuff. I mean, this sounds cliche, but when I grew up, we had 3 channels on our television, and it was all shit I didn't want to watch. So what did I do? I wanted to go throw rocks, and I wanted to go,
make some forts.
Yeah, play with pigs and
start a fire,
climb in the hay mound and all that stuff. So yes, I got in trouble for starting some fires too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So
that's good, clean fun.
Yeah.
I count myself lucky because I would say, Jared and I are in their early 30s, 33. You're 34 yet? You're turning 34, Jared.
Yeah. Big dog.
Right at the end of that. So like when I was a kid, my mom would lock me out of the house. I would, like you said, we had a couple TV channels, and she was like sick of 3 boys, like, just get out of the house, lock the door, come back at dinner time. But within a few years, there was internet and video games and all that, which, whatever, it is what it is. But I do count myself lucky to not have grown up with that. Facebook was out when I was in college. And so to deal with social media as a kid, which is, an entirely different thing than I ever had to deal with or think about or even, have to worry about. I definitely feel lucky. I feel lucky for that, like, last little bit of normalcy before the metaverse took over.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, man. I grew up in the 80s. So I had a Nintendo, and I played Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. And, like, I lived in that era where MTV was just raging.
Sure.
So I can remember getting off the bus to sprint home just so I could maybe catch my favorite video on Total Request Live, right?
Sure. TRL, baby.
Yeah. So like I lived all that too, but just like the outside and I'm really glad that my parents, my dad loves to camp.
Yeah.
So that flooded over into it, the farming, the camping, the fishing, all that stuff kind of added up. And then it was like 12 years old is when I was like 12 years old, I think, is when I got my first bow. And from there, it was just like, I really wasn't serious, because right when you're 13, you start to hit, your interest, sports, girls, like all that stuff.
The finer things in life.
Yeah, the finer things in life. And then, I was doing it, and I started shooting my bow, and I started deer hunting, and then got to high school, and that kind of took a back seat for a little bit because of sports and all the activities there. College a little bit, I'd still go fishing, and I'd still do some pheasant hunting. And then, so I dabbled.
Yeah.
Right? I was dabbling in it. And then in 2006 is where I just went like all in.
All deep.
All
yeah.
in. Yep.
Yeah. And once you go all in, there's no coming back.
No, and especially when it sinks. Like, you can go all in on something and then just go like, okay, I've been all in, and I don't want to be all in anymore.
Yeah.
But with bow hunting, with like the outdoors, just fishing, like when I went all in, and I'm going to speak to bow hunting whitetails, because that's really what I went all in on, is when my life changed.
Yeah.
Really. And it was just one of those things where it's just like I got punched in the face by Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to do this all the time.
All the time.
I want to shed hunt. I want to scout. I want to run trail cameras. I want to drive around with my binoculars. I want to go stare at a rub in the middle of the woods, and I want to hypothesize about what deer made this, where his bedroom is, what he's doing, all that dumb shit that we spend way too much time on. You know what I mean? And and it hasn't left.
I can see it. Once you get all in, it's hard to go back, and you find yourself, like you said, it's 89 degrees, it's muggy. And I'm looking for spots that I might hunt in 3 months or maybe in 2 years if I get around to the spot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, big smile the entire time.
Yep.
It's funny how that works. So you started in 2006 getting in. You're in Iowa, right?
Yep. Iowa. Born and raised. Yep.
Must be nice. As for the listeners here who don't know, Iowa is known as, like, I would say, the Mecca of hunting, of deer hunting for whitetail. I mean, it's a draw state. You put in to get points in certain spots, and it produces consistently amazing deer, and a lot of the footage you see on TV happens in Iowa. So this is a whitetail state. Am I overstating it?
Well, yes, I'll just say yes.
All right, fair.
Because what you see on television isn't what I grew up with. And
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I grew up in Southern Iowa. I hunt the South Interstate 80, and it's glorious compared to anywhere else I've ever been. If you're from Pennsylvania or Michigan and you come to Iowa and you land yourself on one of those perfect days during the rut, you will have a memory that you will never forget. Hot doe comes through and is pulling like 3 130s with her, couple, maybe a 140 or something like that. You'll never forget that. But a majority of like everything you see on the television, aside from, let's just say you take away guys like the hunting public, right? They're out there hunting public, but again, they're not running into 200-inch deer. They're not hunting thousands of acres of managed ground.
Yeah.
So if you own property in Iowa and you have the ability to manage it, and you have the ability to pass 4 and 5-year-old deer to get them to this older age class, that I don't know, I don't own property, and I would probably never pass a 5-year-old.
No.
So when people say, oh man, it must be nice to hunt Iowa, it's great to hunt Iowa. Don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
everything you see about Iowa is manufactured. It's the 1%.
That's a good word for it.
Right?
Yeah.
So, when you see a television show and a guy's passing a 170 class deer, because you can call him that, but he knows, because he's watched that deer for 3 years. He probably knew what doe gave birth to him, where he has bedded his entire life, what field he comes to, and it's just watched, and then they're shot. Right. This is what like people don't understand about Iowa, is that I don't own any property. I hunt some really good pieces that allow me to do that. But at the same time, we have hunting pressure, and I'm not going to compare it to Pennsylvania or Michigan, because that wouldn't be right to do. But Iowa also, on their public land, we have less than 2% of our ground is public land.
Right.
And some of that includes state parks that you can't hunt. So you take a smaller amount of people and you shove them into a smaller amount of property, you're still getting hunting pressure. The only thing about Iowa that really is awesome is that we don't have a gun season during our rut.
Yeah, and that is huge.
That's huge.
Huge. Yeah. And just think about that, Jared, like a couple weeks of hunting, different parts of the good part of a rut for us, like right as it's kind of peak
kicking off,
almost, the rifles come out and you're like, oh, nuts. You get that one beautiful, gorgeous week right beforehand where hopefully something happens. And I'm glad you said that, Dan. That's why I brought it up, to be a little facetious. Like, I mean, obviously Iowa is known as this great deer spot, but like you said, public lands are there's not a lot of it.
Yeah.
And what you do
just
see
imagine,
on TV.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no,
you guys are from Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Just imagine if for 2 years in a row, they pushed gun hunting season back 2 weeks.
Right.
And it's bow hunting. It's bow hunting for pretty much all of November. And then the gun season opens December 1st. The breeding takes place. The big bucks come off the does, and some of the and they go back into their hiding pat, they're hiding.
And you can do all the deer drives you want at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And that's great. You can go do your deer drives and hopefully kick them up, but they go back from being dumb to they go back into survival mode. It's two different deer you're hunting, same deer, two different behaviors. Yeah. And, I was talking to a wildlife biologist, God, I'm trying to remember his name. And he's like, Michigan has some of the best genetics that they've studied. And you give deer in Michigan 2 more years to live, and now you're talking a caliber of deer that's unseen anywhere else in the United States.
Yeah. Well, we'll look at,
don't tell 80% of Michigan hunters that, though. They'll tell you.
I know. It's
but they all get up in arms, but you go to that Seney gas station up on the way to the UP or up in the UP, it's like well known. There's like giant bucks on the walls. And I remember stopping in there. I'm asking the guy, I'm like, yeah, what part of Iowa did you shoot this thing from? And he's laughing. He's like, these were all UP bucks. Yeah. And he's like, up until
probably.
Yeah, he's like, up until 1992 or whatever, this place was hopping with deer, and it went downhill. And we're seeing a little bit of it. We've been doing these APR zones, so antler point restriction, and 2 of the places that I hunt, 2 of the counties I hunt are not 3 on a side, but 4 on a side that it needs before you can shoot it, which led to some this year I had some of the best buck encounters I've ever had in Michigan, multiple. And had I not had, traditional archery equipment, probably would have done a lot better. But it makes a huge difference. That the gun season thing. Well, yeah, I mean, I would have, correct me if I'm wrong, Jared, but there's no way you could convince anybody in Michigan to change November 15 back. No. I mean, and I will say this, like, I shouldn't even complain because I bow hunt, but I love to gun hunt too. So I'm taking full advantage of it, but I do recognize the difference. And bow hunting during the rut it's just a special quiet. It's, you can be quiet and, it's less intrusive and less people are in the woods. And when those deer are moving around, it's like you said, Dan, I mean, it's some of those rut days are like stick in your head and you never forget the crazy stuff you see.
And I'm not sitting here saying any of that's right or wrong.
Right.
What I'm saying is that the people who, and we've talked about this so many times, the people who bitch about there being no bucks, big bucks, are the same people who are shooting fork horns, right? Like, well, I got to get my buck this year. Boom.
I had hey, Jared, that's like half my relatives. We'd go in Big Rapids, and every year it was like, hey, 8 point or better. I'm like, okay, I go out there, watch a bunch of 6 points and stuff, walk by. And then I come back and like, oh yeah, I shot this. He comes in with a fork or a spike or something. And it's like, I won't name names, but if you're listening, you know who you are. My family doesn't listen to this. My wife, I was asking the other day, she was asked about the podcast, and she's like, I don't listen to his podcast. Like, you don't listen to any of his podcasts? She's like, I hear enough of him during the day, to put up with another hour.
Shut up,
him talking about something that he tells me way too much about anyways.
Right.
So no, last night I was bothering her. I'm like, hey, I think I found a new, water filter that I really want to tell you about. And she, when I'm bothering her, she gives me she like a blank stare and just does like the over exaggerated blinks. Yeah. Like she couldn't care less. So
yeah, I started talking about compound bow cams to my wife the other day, and because I was excited about it, and I look at her, and she wasn't even, there could have been an explosion in our kitchen, and she wouldn't have even turned her head. She's just yeah. So then I, whatever.
Cams are important though. She needs to know that. I mean, that your whole draw cycle.
I know.
Is, and actually, I don't even, you know what? I have to just bring this up. I'm a little bit, I don't know that I'm a huge fan of you right now, Jared. Because the other day we got these bows ordered.
You piece of shit.
They sent Jared's freaking bow. So he's got a bow. And he's got it all like the setup, he got that new prime inline, right?
Yeah.
And here I am waiting for mine to come in yet. While all the while knowing he's right down the road with his fancy new bow and mine's still in the shop somewhere.
Well, you got to send the Alpha his weapon first. He needs it to really make a statement. So.
That's right. I hope they're putting something a little extra special in mine, because I really miss shooting my bow. It's been too long.
You're probably going to get the one that's like what do they call that when there's like a defect on the paint job?
Yeah. I asked him specifically for Muddy Girl camo. And so if I don't get my Muddy Girl camo.
Or the camouflage pattern that that you see on the back of semi-truck mud flaps. It's like a naked girl leaned way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like you even more, Dan.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny. So I moved into a condo off of some acres, into a condo on a river. And part of the development is it's basically an old school that they're turning into these cool spots. But part of the school hasn't been fixed yet. So it's a huge gym and it's got tools and stuff in it. But I've rigged up some lights in there because it's been cold lately to shoot outside. So when my bow comes in, I can get a 30-yard shot at night right across this abandoned gym. I'm going to post some pictures of it when I get it rolling. I'm pretty excited about it. A little range I got going.
That'd be sweet.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's the dream, really. You want an indoor spot to shoot beyond 20 yards. And
you should be doing, Jim, is off. You have a deck, right? Or like a port. Deck off the back.
Yeah.
If there's any ducks floating in that river,
I've been thinking about that.
I think you need to take a poke.
They're right there. The problem is I'd be shooting over the river walk. And so there's like usually people around, but I figure one of those night arrows, no one can trace those. Just a disclaimer. I want to say this. We're the Fair Chase podcast. None of this will actually happen. And so we're just kidding.
Hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically. Yeah. So anyway, that's cool. So you've kind of taken this thing that, you've done all your life. You got really passionate about in 2006-ish. And turned it into your full-time gig now, right?
Yeah.
The dream.
Is that the dream? Are you living the dream right now?
I'm real close.
Yes.
I'm really close to living the dream. I have as soon as I open up an adult bookstore, then it will be
and booze. You need booze in there too.
Booze.
Yeah, a distillery, no?
I don't think booze is I can go to the store to get booze, but you
Sure.
can't go anywhere really to get some adult books. And I think that
The classics.
And a buffet. You got to put a buffet in there.
a buffet. Dude, off the air, I have a story about a strip club and a Sunday morning buffet. I'll have to tell you.
That's right.
It's
you know what?
disgusting. Anyway, yes, I'm living the dream. I get to work from home. I mean, there are weeks when I don't even wear jeans, right? So it's just like sweatpants, come up to the office, work, go work out, play Nintendo with my kids. Like it is.
Ooh, what game are you guys into right now?
Right now it's Super Smash Bros.
Dude. Okay, Dan, and we've never said this on this podcast. There several times a week we will play, Jared and I, each other in Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
We've downloaded the one you play on your computer. It's what is it, an emulator and a ROM?
Emulator, yeah.
And we play
we have the Nintendo Switch.
Okay. We're on the 64 because that's
the vanilla Smash.
But it's Smash Brothers. What is it called? What's the
Smash Remix?
Remix. So they add like nerds around the world build these, patches or something to these video games where you can add characters that they've always dreamed of being in Super Smash Brothers. So you're right up our alley. I'd like Super Smash is awesome.
Yeah. And here's, it's up to the father, I feel like, to teach children harsh lessons in life.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, don't you?
Yes, I do. The mother's responsibility, in my opinion, and I call me old fashioned, but her job is to nurture, right? Make sure that they're ready for school in the morning. And which I do too. Right. Or, oh, you shouldn't do that. Or you shouldn't say that. Meanwhile, I'm downstairs going, boom, and just like kicking the shit out of them. And they're like, Dad, why don't you ever let me win? I'm like, no mercy. This is this is real life. The real world will not take you in kindly, and just, talk trash to them like a father should.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Do you have boys or do you have girls too?
I have, my oldest is a girl, and then I have 2 boys.
So are you different with a girl?
No, I mean, I'm trying to make her tough. I'm trying to make, I'll be completely honest. My one goal as a father of a daughter is to teach her to never date a guy like me. So that's all I want. That's all I want.
I feel like sometimes a daughter is a lesson for men. Like you were an idiot when you were a kid, and now, because I've got a daughter, and she's sweet and lovely and smells nice and is kind and all those nice things that I was not when I was 9 years old. I was smelly and dirty, and
well, you still are, dude.
I'm smelly and dirty still. That's true. You don't really grow out of that, do you?
No.
My daughter is like a beautiful venomous snake.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
You look at it and you go, oh my God, that is Mother Nature at its finest.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, beautiful. And then you try to pet it and it bites you and you pass out. Like, that is my daughter. Like, I feel like if she's 8 right now, she turns 9 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Something happens to me, I'm not going to be worried about her, because I've played cynical asshole her whole life. And I think she gets that question everything. Don't trust anybody. Like, the only person who can do it right is you. Like, so that's how I've tried to raise her.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Mine seems to always know what's going on. Like, oh, Dad, we got to.
No, my daughter is smarter than me. Don't get me wrong.
Same.
She's
That's
already,
what I found out.
Yeah.
It's like, well, she knows I have to be here at this time, and we should probably leave now. I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably a good idea. Yeah, we should probably get in the car.
My favorite is like, okay, so my boys, I can tell them something like, oh, it's time for bed, but Dad, I don't want to go to bed. Well, the toilet's running, and the sink and the dishwasher and the floor. Okay, Dad, I gotta go to bed. Yeah. And then I can start, like, I can't do that with my daughter anymore. She's like, well, I've seen you repair the toilet before, Dad. Why don't you just go repair the toilet? I'm just like, so she'll debate me, and her, like, if this was a college debate, she would win. Like, not only is she questioning me, but she's bringing valid points to the table. And I'm just like, like, just go to bed.
I'm your father.
Yeah. It's just because I said so.
Because I said so. Yeah, that, exactly.
I'll go to Jared's. We used to record there, and all his kids come out, and like it's kind of their bedtime. So I come
all
over
his kids. With the way you said it, like how many kids do you have?
I have one.
I have three.
I have one. So the difference between 1 and 3 is all of the kids.
But
I gotcha.
It's 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and like a 18-month-old.
Okay.
So they would all come. They would all come to the garage door and just stand there and try to. And Hazel would just nonstop. James, bang, 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 just talk his ear off. I'm like, Joe, you got to go inside. You got to go to bed. And she would not.
She just like looks at him and then just locks eyes on me like,
hey, Dad, why don't you go to bed? I'm talking here.
Yeah, we're the adults are talking here, Dad. Do you take your kids hunting, Dan?
Shed hunting.
Yeah.
Fishing.
Sure.
I pulled my daughter out of school on a Friday
as a good father should.
Yep. For turkey hunting this year. And I realized she's not quite ready yet, or I need a blind. All right. So when I first started turkey hunting, I was 26 years old. Okay. So it was, 2001. So I was 21 when like the first year I ever went turkey hunting. And so I knew that when my uncle says you have to sit still, that means to sit still. So this past spring, I pull her out of school. We get out into the woods. Oh, it's one of those mornings where just
I love that.
Just like perfect, right? And so we're in the ridge that we go every year to kill one right off the roost, and we're hearing the gobbles, and I set her down. I said, okay, one is responding to us, right? And you know how the sound is a little bit different when they're gobbling in the tree versus when they're on the ground, right? So they're on the ground now. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. And I go, okay, it's coming. It's going to pop up over this hill. Just be ready. So I'm in position. I'm still. And I look behind me, and my daughter is vibrating. She's like, I'm like, sweetheart, you gotta. And then all of us like respond. I'd call, respond, call, respond, call, nothing, call, nothing. And so
he got wise.
Yeah. I just was like, hey, sweetheart, you like, I loved baseball, right? When I was a kid, I loved baseball. I wanted to play baseball all the time. And I'm just going to give you the abbreviated version. Someone in my life burnt me out of it.
Sure.
Just from like the constant, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen in any aspect of my kid's life, right? If they love something, you got to nurture it somehow. And my daughter really wants to go. So I was trying to explain to her, sweetheart, you have to sit still because these animals will not come in. They will not come in if you're moving. Okay. Okay, Dad. Okay, Dad. Okay, Dad. And she just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? And my fault for probably not having her, in a ground blind. But it's one of those things where it was a learning experience, right?
Yeah.
And she loves to be outside. She loves to go look for sheds. She loves to go look for mushrooms. We do trail camera stuff. So all of it's there. The foundation is set so that when the time comes to where I think this year I'm going to buy a crossbow for the family so they can all start to shoot it. And, she has the interest. My oldest son, not so much, but my youngest son, I think, like if I had to pick any of my kids to fall in line with their old man, it's either going to be my daughter or my youngest son. Like, I don't know. There's something about him. Like I don't know. I think he could be a killer.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's interesting how personality plays out, and just kind of getting him into hunt. I'm surprised that you brought, the first time out is turkey hunting. That's like, deer is almost easier, I think. Cause like movement is important, but like,
I don't see, and this is probably a mistake on my end, but I have lone wolf sticks and stands. Like I don't have any 2-seater stands that I could put two people in. I don't have any ladder stands. So as a parent, I should probably go out and invest in a couple of those things because, you know, it's not like trying to be a mobile run and gun hunter with your parent or with your kid is even an option. So
what about ground hunting? You're not a ground guy?
No, I mean, just for me, no.
Yeah.
But like I said, I should probably invest in a two seater stand and a ground blind.
Yeah.
That would probably be beneficial.
Yeah. I've been taking my girl out for a while, and most of the time something happens where it gets blown up. Like,
yeah.
And you know, whatever, it's great either way. I've shot some with her too, and there's almost nothing more exciting than shooting a doe with your daughter next to you cheering the whole time.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah. Jared, you're I feel like Wyatt, your youngest, not your youngest, your middle
boy.
I feel like he's going to be a killer. I feel like Wyatt could become a mighty hunter.
You know, I took them out on a hunt this year, their first one, and they didn't have any camouflage, and we got like pink backpacks and
of course, that's part of it.
Chairs, and we brought them out. I just walked out 100 yards into the woods. We just sat down. There's nothing. I did not expect to see a stinking thing.
Right.
Sat them down. They got in their chairs, opened up their little lunch boxes. We pretty much just had a picnic in the woods, and and we're just sitting there, and all of a sudden it just starts raining. They're like,
this is hunting. This is what it's like.
Tough it up.
And they're starting to shake a little bit because it's cold. And I'm like, you guys want to go? And they're like, they don't say anything. They just food fill them out, just shake their head. Yep, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So it was
first year I took my daughter turkey hunting. We did have a ground blind, and she was in a bright blue coat, and there was 2 toms sounding off in this valley below us. And I mean, it's prime time, right? They're off the roost. They're responding to calls. I had a couple of decoys out, and sure enough, she's like, "Dad, I'm cold. I want to go." I'm like, "Hey, can you tough it up?" I mean, I brought a sleeping bag with me to put her in.
Oh, I do that that's my trick. Sleeping bag.
Yep. And put her in it. And she had my phone to play with and all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, here we go. And so I pick her up, I put her out of the blind. She walks out. I said, "Take the decoys down." And I poke my head out, and there's a shredder working his way up the field, that I couldn't see. Yeah. And I was just like, "Oh, sweetie, I love you."
Yeah, that's how it goes with kids. Hopefully they take those lessons and you slowly build. You don't want to burn them out, like you said.
Exactly.
Even if they don't hunt, just to respect the outside, spend time. Yeah. You know, we do that. We do a lot of camping here, usually almost a month of my girl sleeping in a tent, which is a good thing for a kid.
Absolutely.
So no, that's great. That's great. Kids, you're living the dream right now in Iowa.
I'm trying, man.
You got some big hunts planned for this year?
Well, I'm an idiot, as I've already told you. So I missed my application date for the elk hunt that I wanted to go on. So it's just another preference point for the elk. I may go to Colorado. That's like a 70%, like 30% go, 70% not.
Yeah.
I'm going to be chasing mule deer again this year in a handful of states. Might even go down in one of those January hunts down in Arizona.
Cool. Yeah.
And then whitetail. I'm going to try to make it to a couple states for whitetail. And I don't know, man, I want a reason in 2022 to buy a bigger deep freeze.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great goal.
Yep. So a little bit of bone on the, some bone on the wall and a freezer full of meat. And I think that'd be a good year.
Good stories to tell. Yeah, that's hard to beat. Muleys are up there, and for me, I've not done that yet.
Man, I'll tell you what, that's all I think about anymore.
Really?
Like I've hit this point in whitetails where I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know everything, because I don't. It's a learning process. But I've been able to sit in a tree stand for a long, like many hours, observing these things. And the more you do this, the easier it gets, right? And so I'm on a streak of, I think like seven or six, maybe 6 years in a row, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, 6 years where, and a couple of those years have been the biggest deer on the farm that I have access to. All right. So I call that success.
Yeah.
So knowing that I'm fully capable of getting the job done, I should be able to get the job done in Iowa. Like my mind is mule deer now. I want to learn how to locate these animals. I want to learn how to stock up on them while they're bedding and shoot them.
Yeah.
Like that is what my mind thinks about right now.
I love that. You know, we've talked a little bit about this, Jared and I, but I feel the same way. Like by no means an expert, definitely not, would not even close, and definitely not successful 6 years in a row, especially here in Michigan. But, and that's always like the thing that I like to do the most. But the more I can just try new types of hunts, in new places, it's a lot of fun. It's fun to see what different animals do, how different people hunt them. You know, whether you're for us, just bow hunting in Illinois, or, you know, gun hunting for elk in Colorado, or bear hunting in West Virginia, or whatever you're doing. It's just to try something new and see how other people do it, see how different types of animals react and do things, and just kind of improve your woodsmanship as a whole is cool.
Yeah. I really don't want to be a one-trick pony. You know what I mean? I think that if you want to, I don't know, for me, just a little bit of it. Like I have my personal goals, and that's why I'm interested in mule deer right now. But there's also a sliver of that has to do with, like, I owe it to the people who listen to my podcast and the content that I put out to go experience new things, because anybody can spend a lot of time in the woods over the years in one location and learn an area and learn where deer come through and stick to that area and be successful. That's what a lot of, I mean, being brutally honest, that's what a lot of Instagram is, right? Like some of the biggest names in our industry are one-trick ponies. So and that's not to sound like a hater or anything.
No, that's their thing, and that's more power to them.
Exactly. I don't want to be that. I'm going to be honest with you. When I have grandkids, or, you know, maybe even if I'm lucky, great grandkids, I want to be that crazy old bastard in a wheelchair saying, you know what I did when I was 20 or when I was 40 years old? I climbed to 12,000 feet and I shot a mule deer out of its bed. And they're like, you did what?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like something so crazy that your grandkids want to call bullshit on you. And I'm like, you know, like, or the time when me and my buddy went out to South Dakota, we shot this at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was like 8 in the morning. We saw this mule deer come off this ridge, watched it for an hour or so, came down into this drainage, watched him, and then he disappeared down into this area. And I'm like, hey man, let's go after this mule deer. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we started, it was like at 11 o'clock, we started the stalk.
Yeah.
We had, he put an arrow in this mule deer at 1 o'clock. And then he right through the heart, like smoked this deer, watched him run halfway up a hill. He collapsed and rolled all the way down. From 1 o'clock till 9 o'clock PM is how long it took us for 2 people to quarter him up, put the mule deer in our packs, or like get all the meat off, put it in our packs, and take a 4 mile, it was like 3.5 or 4 mile hike back to the trucks. And when I got to there, I was so physically exhausted, I could barely stand anymore.
Sure.
And that's just a mule deer.
Right.
So I want to be able to share those experiences with my kids, with my friends, because what is a life without these amazing experiences? Right. It's like, you know what I did? I worked 40 hours a week and I didn't even use any of my vacation time.
Right. Yeah.
I
made a lot of money.
Exactly. I like, congratulations, dipshit. You just wasted your entire life because you only get one of these things. So why not go big? Right. And so that's what I want to do. Like, I want to tell my kids, man, I went to Alaska. I shot a caribou. You went where? You did what? Like and not to leave an impact of like this gigantic impact on on this earth, because that's very hard to do. But I want the impact. So when I'm 85, 90, God, like maybe I'll make it to 90, doubt it. 85 years old, right? I want to say, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Had a good time.
It's like, hell yeah. So.
Well, I appreciate that. There's a lot of ways we talk about this a lot too. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people hunt.
Yeah.
We'll have people on that are all like touch on all of those aspects. So like we'll have somebody like the food aspect of hunting. That's the big thing. Or the tactics side. They are just playing chess all the time, and that's what does it. There's some that have like a very philosophical or theological reason. Like, I am a steward of this animal, and one of my God-given duties is to engage the outdoors and to, and some people, you and definitely me included, maybe the most compelling reason to hunt is the story aspect, the adventure. Because I am with you. The thing that I've always, since I was a little kid, loved was hearing a good hunting story. Or being even better is being able to tell a good hunting story, being able to be like, this one time, and then like have people look at you like, really, you did that? I mean, that makes, again, it's all of that stuff, obviously. But one thing that always has stuck out to me is that like, you have a great story to tell. And I had a lot of guys in my life growing up, uncles and stuff, that were like, when I was, like you said, 40 years old, I went to Alaska bear hunting and whatever. And that sticks with you. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I don't know. It's just when you have kids, I'm to that point in my life, and it sucks to say, but you have kids, right? And so you get to see this new life come through and get older, but also you start to see the deterioration, God, I tried to use a really big word and I wasn't prepared for it.
Falling apart. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the end of life, right? Grandparents, even really good friend, like my friend's parents, like starting to pass. And so it hasn't been until recently that you get the real appreciation for life. And I know this, like my life revolves around hunting in the outdoors. Your guys' life revolves around hunting in the outdoors. But it's all secondary to what really life is about. And it's the people in this life, right? It's our family, it's our friends. It really is just people that you meet in a very small instance, right? Maybe you know them for 6 months or 2 months or whatever, and then they're not in your life anymore. And all of it has an impact. It's just I'm starting to have this new appreciation for what life is. Mm-hmm. And the older I get, the more, call it a midlife crisis, but the older I get, I'm just like, man, like every day matters. Every day matters. Every hunting season matters now. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, man, it's just kind of, I guess that's the hippie in me.
Well, you build the life you really want.
Yeah.
Whether you can admit it or not, the way that your life looks and the way that it is just based on a series of decisions you've made.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So you're not a prisoner always to your circumstances. And in some cases you can't help where things end up or whatever, but the way you prioritize your life, it will come out and in people could look at your life and see, well, what's important to this person. And obviously hunting is super important for us.
But it's all secondary, family.
It's not, exactly. It's not number one. It supports things and it encourages things, your faith, my faith is the driver, my family behind that. And then, hunting comes and they actually fit together in really interesting ways. And they all kind of, they fit together in interesting ways, I guess is the best way to put it. But like you said, it's not. And it's easy to go online. It's easy to go on Instagram and get caught up in what people are posting and get excited about it and make your life that. And it's just bigger and more important than that. It really is.
Yeah.
So I feel like that got deep, but I don't know. That's what hunting is. That's how hunting affects people, or just being outside. Again, we talk about hunting, but I mean, there is just hiking around, camping, fishing, picking mushrooms. I cannot wait this spring to pick mushrooms.
Dude, mushrooms. That's my jam, dude. Like,
is it?
Oh, dude, I love going and finding mushrooms. Like it is like, I don't know, man. It's really high up there because not only do I love to eat them, but everybody in my family loves to eat them.
Oh yeah.
So I can go shoot a deer and I can, it's like, if I told my wife, do you want me to make this chili with ground beef or do you want me to make it with venison? She'll say, well, can we do half and half? Or
sure, which means ground beef.
Yeah, exactly. So, but mushrooms, there's dude, and again, a little hippie here, but when you open the door to like foraging and mushrooms, there's a ton of mushrooms out there that you can eat. And so this past year on one of my other podcasts, I had a mushroom expert come on and talk about all the different mushrooms there. And you can fill your belly, and there's nothing better. There is nothing better than a fish fry with mushrooms, like fried mushrooms and like fresh crappie or bluegill or whatever. And you have this, and you got to throw in like potato salad or macaroni salad,
obviously,
or something like that. And dude, you just eat till you're uncomfortable. You drink some Busch Lights, hang with the fam, and laugh like that. Like those are literally my favorite moments in my life.
Yeah.
And then play some cards. And like, that's it.
You got to end with cards. That's good stuff.
That's my dream, man. That's what I want to do every day.
The spring trifecta is a little fresh turkey meat, some morels, and then you get those wild ramps, like those the ramp. What else do they call? What's the other name for them, Jared?
Wild leeks.
Wild leeks or ramps. Okay. You get all that together because they're kind of like garlicky, oniony greens. Yeah. That they just I don't know if they grow out by you, but like we'll hunt and they'll be like an entire hillside just with millions of these little bud things. You pick them out, you saute them, just like kind of like a faint onion. Would you say, is that pretty
like
accurate?
Like a green onion?
Kind of like a green onion.
They have a bulb underneath that you can pull up, but it's more like it's a broad leaf.
Yeah.
You just cut off and you just saute it and just kind of wilts and almost has like a spinach, a wilted or a sauteed spinachy,
oniony, spinachy.
Yeah, it's just really, really good.
You have a mix of those things, man. That's good stuff right there. Life is good. I have one memory of a specific turkey hunt we were on, Jared, that we had a meal that was, I think we threw in a little rice that we had that brought out to camp too, but that's good stuff. So, well, hey, Dan, and we're coming up on time. And so I don't want to take too much. I told you an hour and we've gone obviously over the.
Hey man, I'll tell you what, you can talk as long as I want because right now is bedtime downstairs.
Smart.
So any excuse for me to miss bedtime and have my wife take care of it all. I mean, I got like 6 more stories.
I know. The thing is, I'm worried about being on your wife's bad side. That's my concern. You know what I'm saying, Jared? I don't want to mess.
Where you live. She doesn't know.
She doesn't know where we live.
Know me?
No.
Well, anyways, Dan, for people who want to follow your podcast, your kind of umbrella of family podcast family, and follow you on social media, how can they get a hold of you? How can they follow along?
Yeah. So I think I'm the only 9-Finger Chronicles out there. So just go to Google, type in 9-Finger Chronicles, and everything should pop up. Instagram, Facebook, the podcast, or you can go to like iTunes and type in Sportsman Nation, SPORTSMENS Nation. And man, you'll get a whole bunch of really awesome podcasts pop up.
It's great stuff. Yeah, go check it out. I like listening to your stuff too. I'll pick and choose among the podcasts based on the mood that I'm in, which is the nice thing about having so many. So, well, Dan, thank you again for coming on. This was a good time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. And I owe you guys an apology because I think I had to cancel on you like 5 times right at the last minute.
6,
so,
by the way. 6.
Probably 7. Who knows? No, we're kidding. No, you're good. No.
10.
We totally get it. No, we appreciate it. Been dying to talk to you, and so it's been good to hear your story, hear the way you think about things. I've heard you a lot, but never had a chance to talk to you. So this is good stuff.
Yeah. Anytime, guys. Anytime.